Okay, so thank you everyone for joining to our October session for the Women in Tech group in Montevideo. We will talk about the latest and greatest features that will come with Winter 21. Most of you or everybody should have them by now, but it's good to just take a look at what's new and what you can play with now. So, introductions first. Um, Andrea and me, we are running the Women in Tech group. So I work for Mate Quality Services. That's our consulting company. Um, I'm a project manager and an admin. I am a grad from Rad Women, part two. Um, so kudos to the Rad Women team. And then we have Andrea.
Hey everyone, so I'm a senior team lead in Altimetric. I've been working with Salesforce for about 8-10 years now. So I'm a RAD coach. I never coach Barbara, so it's all okay. And yeah, I'm glad that I was able to join this year to help her and also start forming this group. Okay. And we have us invited today, Melissa. I don't know.
Thank you, Andrea.
Hey.
I'm actually a Rad Women graduate also of the first group, not the second group. Not that I can write code, but I appreciate that group so much and what they did. I'm a founding partner with Hands on Connect Cloud Solutions. We're an ISV partner. We have a volunteer management application that is native to Salesforce and does quite a bit more and quite a bit differently than Volunteers for Salesforce. And I am super excited to be here today and to give you some thoughts on my favorite highlights of the Winter 21 release.
And just a couple questions for Melissa so everybody knows. So, Melissa, how long have you been working with Salesforce?
Um, I actually found Salesforce in about 2007, 2008, and then really got heavily involved with it in 2010. So I've been around a while.
Yeah. And just one last question. What are your thoughts on the community, the Trailblazer community?
I tell you what, the Trailblazer community, I have always loved the Trailblazer community, but during COVID, it has been the saving grace, right? I told Barbara, my founder told me one day, he said, Melissa, you're disturbingly social and energetic. I'm just like, off the scale extrovert. And so I'm the one that always travels to all the events and, goes and does everything. And so to be staying at home and not interacting with the Trailblazer community was a horrible thing. And so once everybody started gearing up virtually, I love this because I've never gotten to go to Montevideo. So now I can at least say I've presented here, right?
Yeah, awesome. Okay,
Cool.
so thank you for presenting this. And the first thing that we're gonna show is one-on-one on releases. So Andrea is gonna give you like overview of what releases are for Salesforce.
So yeah, we're going to try to cover and explain a little bit on releases. I think all of the people in the meet today is like experience with Salesforce, but yeah, just to go a little bit in detail. So we started brainstorming and came up with some questions. So when we in our projects, right, when we need to deliver new features to our customers, so what things do we need to cover? What are all those checklists and things we need to think of? So here go. So release, we need a schedule, we need to work on the quality, security, documentation, like end user documentation, technical documentation. We need to provide support for anything that might go wrong, training, like let users know beforehand of some changes, how they are going to be impacted. We need to choose which features we're going to be releasing, right? So we need to release fixes, but also enhancements and meaningful things for our customers. And then we'll have a roadmap, right? So there are some feature freeze phase, code freeze, the go, no go meeting. So these are things that all on our projects have gone through. In general, we do it once or twice, like for the big release and then the maintenance. But then the question was, how does Salesforce does it? So we know that Salesforce has been around for longer than 10 years. It has customers all around the world. All customers need to be updated to the new version of the application. So it cannot happen that some people in some country or some customers are not like updated. And with minimal disruption, customers cannot afford to have like 1 week off out of Salesforce because Salesforce is doing maintenance, so you cannot log in. So it's super important to keep the business rolling. So how does Salesforce does this? With seasonal releases and with taking change. So what they do is they have been doing hundreds of minor releases with seamless and automatic upgrades. And this is true and known because here are most of all the mascots the release icons we were able to find. But if you can take a look, this covers from the release probably spring 4 up to summer and winter 20. So this way of working and giving releasing features to customers works for them. So what we're going to do is we're going to go a little bit on detail, and we're going to try to answer what, when, who, where, why, and how of the Salesforce seasonal releases. And let me know if there is any question or anything. We can like stop and discuss it, okay? Or if you have any anecdote or anything as well. So what are the releases? So releases are the way that Salesforce has for releasing new features. So one of the important tools for knowing the what are the release notes. So these release notes would be as the end user documentation. They have a site where they post for all the releases. There is all the information for every new feature, every change they are presenting. I think it's a little bit slow on the monitor here, but you can go back and check the release notes from previous releases as well, if you want to know when did something start to work that way. It's super handy because for admins, you can like search and filter. It can happen that in your organization, you don't use Service Cloud. So there is a lot of things from Service Cloud that you are not interested at the moment. So you can filter, you can also check by your edition, depending on your type of organization, maybe some features will be available and some weren't. The impact, which is important because there might be some features that are, once the release is available in your organization, it will be live for your users. So there are some things that admins might want to find out beforehand, before having users asking why this is layout change, or I was able to do this before and not now. So it's one of the importance tools that they have for communicating the releases. Also, this documentation has there's a categorization on the type of features. So features could be on pilot, beta, or GA, which is generally available. And this gives you a hint of how much support these features have. For example, in the last release, the code builder was in pilot, means that only certain customers could use that feature. There are generally opt-in requirements, so maybe they have a feature, but they will make it, customers can participate in this pilot test only if they have like a certain number of records or features enabled. So this is like a closed test period. Then it will go on beta, like code builder will go, as they say on the last week. So this means that it will be publicly available, but not fully fledged. So we can report on issues, but Salesforce is not giving full support on any problem we might have. Like for developers, the idea is that you can test beta features, but never include them in your releases or anything. Like you cannot be sure that this will be GA. And GA means that it's fully available and functional and supported. There are also some features that go straight to GA. So only some particular things are go through this testing process, we can say. Okay, so when does it happen? There are 3 releases a year. So spring, summer, and winter, every 4 months, more or less. And there will always be a schedule, so we can track back. So from the date of the major release, that is when environments start to be updated, we can like count back and know that 4 or 6 weeks earlier than the major release, there will be an open for signing up for pre-release orgs. These are environments that have these features enabled, and we can sign up for accessing and testing them. There will be the sandbox preview as well, like 3 or 4 weeks before the major release. There's also a treasure hunt badge. So the idea is that people can start digging in the new environments and posting on, I think on Twitter, on the Trailblazer community with a hashtag about the new features they run into while testing the things. One important thing is that from the period where the sandbox preview starts up to more or less the major release, that is also the time where we are supposed to catch and report any bugs to Salesforce. So they are relying on us to test their new features. So we would like to report those things for them. A couple of weeks before the release, there will be the release readiness live. This is like different clouds, different product managers from the clouds. There are some sessions where they like demo and present the most meaningful features for each cloud. So they can talk a little bit on the roadmap, let us know what features are in beta, for example, or GA. So it's good because they are like deep dives on the different clouds. So, and there are also tracks for developers, admins. Okay. So back in taking a look at this release that is going on at the moment, this was the calendar. So each time there is a release, there will be like a similar calendar presented where we can know the exact dates. So pre-releasing for the sign up, where the sandbox preview start. The release notes sometimes are also on preview. So when we get access to the pre-release, we can have access to the notes before they are like made live. And one other thing is that with the new features, there's always new knowledge to learn. So after the releases, now it's once a year, there will be for the certified people, like some revalidation of the knowledge. So to keep up to date with the changes. Okay, so who does it? Salesforce. So if we think of them as a project, we are their customers. So project managers, product managers, scrum masters, developers, quality engineers, Salesforce support, DevOps, everyone in their team is working on that release for us. Where does it happen? The release happens across all instances, and then the pre-release goes on the developer editions pre-release environments. Those are like developer editions which have already these features enabled, but then there's also the sandbox preview. So for the ones that work with a production organization and sandboxes, there is a feature on the sandboxes. Some sandboxes are on preview, and that means that we can check all of our customizations in the new release. That is super handy because we would like to know if anything breaks or we need to adapt or anything before the release is applied on our environment. We can keep track on there's a link here we place on Salesforce track to know the status. So when the release is scheduled to be deployed to our sandboxes. Okay. Let me go back, see what happened. Let's try again. Sorry for that. Oi. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, so a little bit of more detail on the types of sandboxes. So there could be two types. The type of sandbox depends on where your Salesforce instance is. So if you refresh your sandbox, it could be either on a preview or non-preview. So you would like to make sure that you have one preview environment where you can go on checking how things are going to look, and then a non-preview for continue doing maintenance and development for your production. This is for the last, the winter release. This is depending on where your sandbox lives, on which instance, if it was on preview or not. The takeaway here is that you would like, one admin would like to know if the instance is a pre-release or not, to make sure that at least one of the sandboxes is available to be refreshed with the release. So you can have all the team testing and doing UAT there. I'm gonna try to see if I can present again. Yes, okay. So why does do it? Going back to one of the first slides we have, for doing the continuous delivery of new features, fixing errors, stay competitive. Salesforce is a company that generally does acquisitions of new companies with their features. So the idea is they are always presenting those new things to their customers, and also to react to the prioritization process, which I believe we talked on a few meets back. The prioritization process let us developers, admins, vote and promote other people's ideas. So there will be a prioritization, and some of the feature requests that we, like users do, are taken into account and applied to the roadmap. How do they do it? Like, how do they know that they can release without breaking anything? So there is something called a hammer of test. And the thing is that what Salesforce does is they, for all the production environments, not on a dev org or on a sandbox, they will take your version, your customizations, or all your code. They will run your code on the actual release. They will run your code on the next release, and they will compare. So if there are any new errors, any differences, they are going to work on those fixes, because probably there's something on their change that break our test. But otherwise, that means that their features are working as expected. And the other thing is that we are doing UAT as customers. So having access to the pre-release environment give us also the responsibility of testing and telling them, reporting them anything we might see that is not working as expected. Feature retirement. One other thing that happens with the releases is there are some features that go on retirement. They let admins know like 12 months beforehand. So admins will get constantly notifications on which features and when they are planned to be retired. But yeah, the idea is that they are like recycling things and removing all the features that are no longer maintained. This here in yellow are like a detail, a list of the features that are going on retirement after this release. So, and how to prepare, like how do admins or developers, customers prepare? Take a look on the release timeline. We know it's 3 times a year, so those informations are always available, always keeping an eye on when they are going to be available, the pre-release environments for us to check, get access to those environments and test things. It's super important for admins to be aware of what things are like accessible easily for end users, so to have them prepared on what changes they are going to be experience in the new release. And also there is a site for reporting known issues. So if after the release there are things that are not working, it's a good thing to always be updated, be up to date with what is reported there, because maybe what is happening to us is something that Salesforce is at the moment working on fixing. So don't know if there is any questions. Oh, maybe I was too fast. So I'm gonna stop presenting and I'm gonna give it back to Melissa. Thank you.
No, great job. I love that, Andrea. That's such a great overview of the releases and how they work and what they do.
Thank you.
Let me see if I can get mine to present appropriately now. Of course, I try not to make too many boxes. All right, let's see if we can do this. Sorry, get set up here just a bit. All right, share my screen. And so I don't know about you all, but did this release seem to be not, I don't know, not as incredibly exciting as most normal releases? Was that just me or is that everybody?
They had some nice features.
I did. So I don't know, I guess because we've had so many super exciting things, I think, lately, that this maybe seemed like, I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you make everything exciting every single time. But I did go through and kind of break down one of the questions, and especially I know this is pertinent to me because I work with nonprofits, and budgets are always so strict and so careful. So one of the things that I looked at was which of these new features that they released are going to cost me additional money, right? Because I have to have either a different license type or buy a different set of information. And so you'll see on my slide deck that I kind of outlined the things that are actually going to cost you money. So the opportunity deal change highlights, the multi-cloud support for billing, the high velocity sales enhancements. And of course, if you ever already have high velocity sales, it's not extra, but if you don't, it is. The lead score global methods was the one that I was personally really excited about because opportunity scoring has already been made available to everyone. And I don't know how many of you may be using the opportunity scoring functionality. Have you done that yet?
Not me.
No? Because it really is incredibly helpful for your sales team to know that, if an opportunity is scored at 99, that's the one they need to be working on right now, as opposed to an opportunity that may be scored at 50, right? So it helps them shape their day and figure out what they need to do at just a glance. So lead score is the same situation, but it is for your business development team. And in past, you had to have at least 1,000 leads converted in the last 6 months to be able to use it. And now what they have done, but because Einstein needed that much data to be able to accurately score your leads, now you can use the aggregate Einstein scoring across like everybody's instance, right? So you don't see all the data, but they are using, which makes immense amounts of sense to me, right? Use the more data that Einstein has to work with, the better job Einstein can do. So you can turn on lead score, and that's what the global part of it is, right? So Einstein is looking at every single lead and every single instance that's allowed them to, and comparing it to help you understand by placing a score on your leads, how likely it is that that lead will convert to a sale. So to me, that's a huge, huge benefit for anyone that's selling anything, right? Whether you're a partner or working in some, a business that's selling something. So that was one of the huge ones for me. In Service Cloud, which my company also uses, the field service timesheets is an interesting new feature that you pay for because you have to pay for field service. There are some other enhancements, the Einstein bots, and I don't know how much you may have worked with Einstein bots, but I love all the Einstein things. I really had a hard time deciding if I wanted to be a Lightning champion or an Einstein champion, because I believe that anything that we can automate, especially for nonprofits, right, saves them time to do things that can't be automated, because you can't automate everything, right? So Einstein Bots to me is huge. We have a very small team, and if I can help a customer find the information that they need to find with a bot, rather than tying up one of my teammates' time to find it for them, then that's helpful. But the service setup assistant, and I don't know about you all, but I don't have to set up service very often. You know, if you work for a company that has Service Cloud, you probably only set it up once. But to me, that assistance, you know, I mean, yes, and maybe you've passed the Service Cloud consultant exam and you know all about it, but to set it up, it just makes so much sense to have that step-by-step walkthrough about what the best practices are. I don't know if that's a struggle for you all. For me, it is sometimes. In fact, our company last year migrated from Zendesk to Service Cloud. And it was a really interesting opportunity to understand how to implement change management. I asked the leader of our support team when we got ready to make the move, I said, everything I hear you saying, I feel like you want me to recreate Zendesk in Service Cloud. And he assured me that no, that was not the case. And as the weeks went on during this implementation, it became very obvious that what he wanted was for me to build Zendesk in Service Cloud. so, so to be able to have that that assistant was is a huge new help, I think, for folks. Communities, which I don't know if you've seen, they've been rebranded as Experience Cloud instead of Communities Cloud, which I thought, what is this fresh new stuff that they've got out here that but evidently they're rebranding Communities as Experience. And there is I have not used Pardot, although I have a lot of customers that Salesforce.org sold Pardot to in about this time last year. Are any of you all working with Pardot at all in your instance?
No.
Angelica's kind of, do you have some experience there?
Yes, a little bit, and it was a very long time ago. We were actually working with the API.
Ah, so
That
that's,
was
yeah.
very tricky. We were trying to import a massive amount of information, so it was kind of tricky.
So, and I think that they are trying to tighten that integration, which with the new Pardot email experience, I think that's probably going to be a big benefit to folks that are using Pardot. The idea of the experience builder enhancements, the way that they have made it easier. If you've ever built a community, you know how, I don't know, maybe it's not frustrating. Maybe it's what an adventure that could be, right? To build a community. And so they have done some great work to enhance the way that that's built, along with the Salesforce CMS enhancements. And so Salesforce CMS is something that they had talked about, but they seem to be introducing in little bits and pieces. So I'll be interested to see where the Salesforce CMS itself goes from here on. So platform is what they rebranded Lightning as. It seems like a release of rebranding, right? And actually, this has some of my very, very, very favorite new enhancements. The Salesforce Optimizer. Have you run that yet in your organization?
Yep.
Oh, Barbara, you need to do that. Let me tell you, this is the single most helpful thing I have ever seen come out of Salesforce. I don't know. What do you think, Andrea? Is it, yes? Am I overselling it?
No, not at all. And also, I think it provides good like metrics, so you can screenshot where you are now, plan like how many changes or whatever, and then do another report again and compare and see that yeah, you are moving like cleaning up, because that's the yeah.
So I highly recommend this. Run it. Sometimes it can take up to 24 hours. This is a test demo org that I have. But from my standpoint to know, so I'm looking at user logins and I need to address this. It's going to take me less than 30 minutes for the estimated time to fix this, right? That's huge. And then they have the documentation that's easily available. If I need to do a trailhead to make sure that I understand the concept and what I need to do with it. Migrating workflow rules to Lightning Process Builder. You know, that's a huge thing that Salesforce is pushing everyone toward right now. And according to Salesforce, I have 9 workflow rules that I could replace for the process. And I'm kind of excited to get in there and do that. You know, it's going to take more than 2 hours to do it, but to be able to see what that looks like, that's super exciting to me. And you see, it goes on and on and on. Like I said, luckily this is a demo org, so it's, you know, unassigned record types. How would you ever accidentally find that? You know, why do you need it in there?
Wow,
And
that
like I
is
said,
that is cool.
I absolutely love it. So I would encourage you to whip that out, run that. The Security Center actually costs a little bit of money, and the Composite Graph API is something that is more targeted toward developers. But again, great new features that are available. And then the Privacy Center. The other thing I'm really interested to find out from you all is if you have used the multi-factor authentication assistant yet. Anyone? I have not done this yet, and I am anxious to do it in my my demo org here, and see exactly how it works, because we have just been through a huge security review internally. We have a new operations manager, and she is about all things security. And I feel like that this is going to be critical. But again, and maybe it's the way my brain works, which is, you know, maybe why I can't understand Apex even after graduating from Rad Women. But it's a very linear process. So for me to have step 1, step 2, step 3, you know, and then go to the next section and do this, the step 1, step 2, step 3 again, because in fact, I started to implement this for my team, and I have wound up being the de facto Salesforce administrator. And I thought, oh no, if I do this and make a mistake, everybody on my team is going to be locked out of Salesforce, which my team would not be surprised that I would do something like that. They have given me the hashtag extreme beta tester. You know, if I can't break it, it's ready for GA. But obviously you don't want to do that, right? I mean, I can't think of anything more horrible than locking everybody out of Salesforce. So again, they've given us the tools here, I think, that make it much better to be able to maintain the security of your org without being so nervous that you're going to do something wrong. I don't know, maybe it's just me that's always nervous that I'm going to, you know, blow something up and break it entirely. But 2 great new things that came out, you know, the enhancements even with the optimizer. So let's see. And then applications. So if you've used Salesforce survey templates at all, they have done some exciting things that have made them much easier to use. So the templates themselves now, if you're doing Net Promoter Score, maybe you have several different products that you want to use that for, you can build a template and reuse it over and over again for different surveys, which again saves time in my mind instead of rebuilding it every time. You know, you've got a design, you put that, you want it to look just perfect, you want it to feel just perfect. Have any of you used the survey feature in Salesforce? No. And it actually works pretty well. I mean, it's not, you know, it's not get feedback, but it's but it works well for what it is. So apps and Lightning experience, I am still waiting for the the dynamic pages for standard objects, but they actually have dynamic actions now. I'm supposedly in, I think it's spring 21 that they're going to have dynamic forms for standard objects. Don't quote me on that. I don't know that, but I'm kind of waiting because those are the places that my users really need that dynamic experience, and not to see, everything that's on the page, but to see what they need to see. We now have 4 products in our company that we are selling. And so depending on what team you're on, there's a lot of different information that could be hidden, that could simplify your life. I don't want to see everything. I just want to see what I need to see. And so that's being improved every time. I think that's probably one of the single best enhancements that they have done. Have you all done anything with the dynamic forms yet internally?
No, I've used the actions for buttons that I want to hide from certain people, like for most people. And only a few need to have access.
Right.
So I use them for that.
Yep. I'm excited to be able to have it know a little bit better, who needs what and who doesn't. Lightning flow, I have been learning this as we go along. The fact that they have introduced trigger on delete now, I don't know. I mean, we're just like putting developers out of a job entirely. Is that the? I'm trying to think, because that used to be. So I don't know if you all know this about me. I've probably taken and failed the Platform Developer 1 exam more times than anybody else ever. I still haven't passed it. But that was always, in my mind, what do you have to use Apex for, right? You have to use Apex for delete and for, before, and now that's not true anymore. So I know they're going to have to update the PD1 exam. And that's why I encourage you, take it as soon as you learn it and take it over again as soon as you fail it, because it changes so fast. But the trigger on delete now is huge. In fact, the only piece of code that I have ever written that has made it into a package was a before delete trigger that I wrote. So there was one specific record that could not be deleted or it would break the integration. And I wrote that, and our team put it in our code. And I should have commented my name in there or something, so I could have shown people, but I didn't. I didn't think about it at the time. But now with what they're doing with flows, trigger on delete, is, to me, that's huge, right? I haven't built one yet. I've built a record triggered flow. I've built trigger on create, on that creating a new record, but I haven't done one on delete yet. Have you all played much with flow? If you have a chance, Chris Emmett has some great 2-hour builds that he does. And if you follow him on Twitter, he has those announced, and he will literally take a project that, someone brings up that day and build out the flow in 2 hours with you. It's astounding to watch and see. So that's another great enhancement that I'm excited about coming out. Of course, more, right? In-app guidance, I love. They've done some more things there. There's a couple of things that I wanted to, and again, this may be more targeted toward developers, but because it's one of those things that I always run into, I always get the error messages when I create a flow, when I create a process builder, when I try and write code, and that is handling null values. And so this, to me, was a huge enhancement that they made. And I don't know if any of the folks on our call are developers, but I'm sure everyone thinks that's a good thing to have, right? Make life simpler, not more difficult.
I think a lot of people want to go back to the code and change it, like update the API version, change and remove it, a lot of lines.
No, exactly. So the Trailhead Go, you know that it's now available for Android as well as Apple, and that was a huge addition. The Einstein recommendations for Trailhead, I love that. I love for it to tell me what I need to do next. I think that's a great enhancement that they've done there. So there really was a lot of things that came out this time, and I won't go into Nonprofit Cloud unless you just want me to, but the grants management piece is actually an interesting taking a look at that. The Tableau dashboards for nonprofits, that is huge. If you've worked with nonprofits, and Aldo can probably attest to this, nonprofits probably collect more data than any other organizations on the planet, and then do absolutely nothing with it. .org has made some great enhancements to Nonprofit Cloud itself. The Elevate is a new paid product. You have to have NPSP and Elevate, but it is a great way to, if you've ever worked with any of the payment processors or the integrations into Salesforce with trying to make payments, they're always clunky and difficult, and this is going to be a much smoother, seamless process to be able to integrate directly into Nonprofit Success Pack and be able to collect donations and track them. The grants management, of course, piece we talked about a little bit. And case management, they're getting more and more into case management and into program management, which I'm always surprised that Salesforce.org has not used this significantly beforehand to work with customers and nonprofits. And then the accounting subledger, which trying to bring in almost the bookkeeping part of your nonprofit into Salesforce as well, because that really is critical, right? You don't want to be hopping around into 15 different apps to create one piece of information. And then, of course, Tableau dashboards, Philanthropy Cloud. If you're not familiar with it, that's an exciting project that they've been working on for some time with United Way. In fact, Hands On Connect has partnered with them to help provide the volunteer opportunities in Philanthropy Cloud for corporations that support United Ways. And so it gives a corporation a way to have almost like their own site with volunteering and donor opportunities via the United Way. And of course, I'm happy to share this. There are all sorts of places that Andrea already shared of where you can get the release highlights. I don't know, I've never read all 700 plus pages of the release notes. Maybe some of you all have. I've never needed to go to sleep that badly. And I usually refer to them when I get ready to get information back out of it. One of the places two of the places really that I always look, Andrea von Kampen has a great highlights of the winter release for admins, and Amnon Kruvy has one for developers. And so those blog posts are always incredibly helpful as well. And then you can tell I've done this before because I still have my Uniting Minds and I need to change it to Nonprofit Dreamin' now. So that is my highlights for the winter release. What did we miss that you all love best?
I think you covered it all.
To be from the South, I talk pretty fast, right?
No, it was amazing. I myself, I'm super excited for Code Builder, but just because it was in pilot, so I wasn't able to even get near that. I want to see it. I won't leave Visual Studio Code, never, but I want to see it.
I like Visual Studio Code too, and when I have to do things, that's exactly what I use.
We used to say, Andrea, that the same about Eclipse.
Oh, I had to use it like a month ago for some automation. It was like, oh, did I use that? Yes, I did. It's amazing. And I was trying to switch again the automation into Visual Studio, and then always.
Eduardo is sharing the new Salesforce mobile app for tablet.
Yes.
It was for iPads or for every.
I know.
iPads, I believe. iOS.
Yep. I sure say I thought just for iPads, right? Yep.
They are so elitist. They gave us Trailhead Go. So like after iOS anyway.
I think it's more like common Apple phones in the US than Android. I remember I got that other phone, like, so yeah. Yeah, and I was just reviewing what Melissa said. I think that they made more user friendly the setup. So this they took away that fear of blowing something up, because it's like all the information that you would need to blog or research like for half an hour before going into the org and following the steps on a separate doc. Like they made it easily, and also easily to check on which stage you are, which is like how well I am in setting up everything correctly or not. It's like you break another environment, then you come to production and you pray and you start doing changes. So I think they nailed that part. They like most of the announcements were like, this is like
admin friendly.
Practices. Yeah, like best practices, I think.
And I know last time they came out with the release updates, which to me was incredibly helpful as well. I mean, that's not a new thing this release, but to be able to look and see what needs action, right? So if I pull it up and complete steps by January 10th, 2021, to allow users to use standard external profiles to self-register and log into communities and portals. That's the next one that's on mine, right? So that to me is incredibly helpful, to know the things that are going to be deprecated, retired, changed, enforced. The guest user profiles was the thing that got enforced this time that really caused everybody immense amounts of grief and heartache, especially in the nonprofit world, because that's what Volunteers for Salesforce operates on. So if they had used their release updates tool, they would have seen that that was important to do before this release went out.
Well, another meeting is happening at the same time, so apologies for the noise. Announcements board. So we usually have a slide at the end with the next events that we think might be interesting for the audience. So in Trailhead Live, they have free webinars to prepare admin and Dev One Search and so on. They have the True to Core Live for Sales Cloud on November 12th. Of course, the next meeting for the Salesforce admin group that is led by Angelica. That's happening on November the 19th, and we're going to have somebody with a very difficult name, Alex Radovinovich. I don't know how the name is pronounced. I found that we have also the Banff Dreaming. That's a dreaming event happening next month, and that is virtual as well, so it might be worthwhile checking it out. And of course, Dreamforce. So the keynote is going to be November 12th, so don't miss it. Sign up, it's free, virtual. Everybody can go this time.
And I think we didn't add it here, but just I don't know if people know that there are some virtual bootcamps going on for certifications. So if anyone is planning on app builder, admin, or developer one, you can. There is like a voucher code, so you can sign up for a virtual bootcamp for the same price of paying the certification, and you also get, I think, one test exam and the certification exam voucher. So if you are thinking of doing any certification, I think that's a good way of like preparing better. So, and the offer ends on the 31st of October on Halloween. So.
And then, well, of course, we ask you to get involved. So send us a message on Twitter, the Trailblazer community, LinkedIn, or WhatsApp, or any of your preference methods. So become a speaker, be a sponsor, just participate. Happy to have you all here. And I think that's it. Anybody has any questions, any comments, anything you want to say? Of course, we have a small, very small, oh, I cannot swag bag for anybody here in Montevideo. So
We're going to make the raffle for the swag. Do you want to present? I'm going to stop presenting. Okay. Yeah. So we put together a bag of swag, and Barbara is going to put the names of the ones in Uruguay because we are not very fond of traveling. But yeah, so all the names are there. Next time we'll ship the swag. But
yeah, but we have low resources. So I don't know. I don't even know what screen I'm sharing. Do you see the picker wheel?
mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
So just a second, I really got one of the swags, I guess. So I don't think it's fair. I'm the wheel.
Oh, no problem, Eduardo. You just give it to the
okay.
one that is on your right.
So I'm just telling you because I know I'm going to win. So until I didn't.
If I win, I just pass it to the partner on the left side. That's it.
Okay, great. Thanks.
And Barbara, you'll have to send me your snail mail address, and I'll have Sticker Mule deliver some of our llama stickers for Hands on Connect for you all.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. So do I have the names? Okay. So Martina is not here, and Monica is not here. All right, are you ready? Here we go.
Oh, Aldo, yay!
Thanks. Who's let's do this. So who is on my left? It's Pablo, or it's right? Who is Jessica?
I don't know. On your left, on which screen?
Well, I said left, so it's up to you, Barbara. So go ahead and pick one. I think it's Bernal. Is Jessica?
Yes. It's
okay.
Bernal in Spanish, but yeah.
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know that there will be prizes. I love it.
Fun.
Awesome. Well, I don't know if there are any more questions from anybody.
Actually, I don't know if you guys know, but the other day I was working with flows from our clients, and how the Salesforce flows controls the limits. Like when you are asking, records, like you can limit to one, but if you need to query too many first record, how that is controlling. because I actually built it in Apex because I liked more, but this is a solution for flows from standard in Salesforce.
You mean like just to get the first record?
Yeah, I mean like, you know, in maybe that flow is triggered for too many records that I need the first one only. So maybe I was getting errors like limitations. So I try to use Apex because for me it's simple, because, and you know, developer, for me it's simple to do that. But there is a way to do it like in a standard way to control those limits when you have to work with too many records and you need only the first one, I guess is the question. I don't know if I'm explaining myself actually.
When you do the record lookup, isn't there like an option for one record or multiple?
Yeah, that is the option that I selected, only the first one. But the thing is, yeah, tell me.
No, but you cannot choose like you want to sort it or something.
You know, because I think that's like, you know, once you're in that step, the trigger, the flow was already triggered. She wants to, you know, that only one record triggers the flow and not all of the records. That's what I understood.
No, actually, you know, when you work with a bunch of because the flow is from a process is calling the flow, right? So there are too many records, let's say 100 records that call that flow. That flow only call the first one. So each record is trying to only take the first one in the flow, and that I think is what the limitation come from, because the process is calling the flow. You know what I mean? Because I have 100 records that each one of them is querying for the first record. So if you look in the limitation Salesforce, like it's like doing a query in a for, you know?
It's like the process is, you know, calling the flow, but one by one. So you're breaking the secular limit.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah. Well, I don't think that's out of the box, but I think you can use like chat box or anything to, you know, to control that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is there's like an out of the box solution for that.
Yeah.
Yet,
okay.
at least.
Yeah, that's true. But I love the null now option. I think that's awesome. Tomorrow I'm gonna try to modify all the code that I already write. I love that.
Yeah, they're getting like, you know, I saw it recently, and you can do it also in JavaScript and in Java too. So they are kind of like standardized stuff now. That is cool.
Yeah, there is a session on live code by Kevin Purman and someone else, and I was watching it today. They were talking about the nullified and on Apex and JavaScript. So.
His wife was part of my group at Rad Women too. That was amazing. All right. Any other questions? Any comments?
I just wanted to say that it was a very good webinar. I guess I loved it. I think that I never think about the releases process before. It's you know, because it's something that happens, and you know, you go there and it's a new release. Okay, I release the new. You read the notes, but I think it's a good idea to start, you know, paying more attention to that. So it's cool.
Yeah, we talked about the prioritization process, but for example, the other day, an architect on the project I work, he posted an idea, and then we were all like voting up that idea. So it's power to the people, power to the people.
That's good.
Well, all right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, Melissa, for spending some time with us.
Thank you. I loved it. I hope I'll get to come back.
In
Yeah,
person,
for
yeah.
sure.
Now, in our next in-person meetup, we'll let you know.
Yes, yes.
And don't
Great.
forget to sign up for the admin group next month. That's gonna be an interesting meeting. So
We're gonna try to set up a workshop for processes. We're gonna talk about best practices and how you can build them. And don't miss the chance to meet Alexandra. She's an amazing speaker, and I think that we're gonna have a lot of fun trying to make everything work virtually. So we'll be publishing the event soon, so stay tuned.
Cool. Well, thank you, everyone. And the contact details for us, Melissa, are on the slides. So reach out if you need anything, any questions. And we hope to see you very, very soon. Bye.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's fine.
Good day. Bye bye.